This is an unboxing video of a Burkard Typhoon British fighter from World War II. The kit is very old, I assume 1940s era. I was unaware of this kit in my childhood, or of any Burkard kit. I assume the kit is a mid-1940s time frame because it depicts a late World War II British airplane and is made of balsa wood, and balsa wood was rationed during World War II. It is boxed in a fairly large box, which I assume was the same box used for all Burkard kits. Specific model included was then stamped on the end of the box. The box indeed is 15 inches across and 5.5 inches wide, so it's a fairly large box. Let's see what's inside. Well, right on top is the plans. So let's start there. As is typical of plans of this era, you don't get cheated in plans. So here's a full-size drawing of a Hawker Typhoon. The scale is here. I just eyeballing it, every one of those little squares or little rectangles is 1/2 inch. So that would be 1/2 inch equals a foot, or 1/24 scale. So this is going to make a really big model, way bigger than is typical of this era. Here's a complete layout of the parts. As you can see, the fuselage is very nicely carved out, except for the very nose and the very tail, which had to be held in the lathe. The wings and tail are, this is like 1/2 inch stock, but cut to plan form. I assume this is the inner part of the wing. The tail is thinner, but still you're going to have to remove a lot of material to get it to be the right shape. Similar to the horizontal tail. Other pieces of wood provided are just blocks of wood and a little sheet of wood. Has nicely turned wheels, different dowels, which I assume are used in the landing gear, etc. One of the interesting features of this is an airplane that allows you to build the cockpit. See, the cockpit is cut out. You're left on your own as to how to fill it, but most airplanes of this era, the cockpit is made by a decal. In this case, we don't have the bubble plastic canopy, but we have a piece of plastic in which you cut out the pieces and glue them together to form the bubble plastic canopy. You even get a tube of glue, which I assume is not going to be in too good a shape right now. Well, now that we've seen the parts, let's return to the plans. I initially thought the kit came without any instructions, but actually the instructions are right here. They're so small that I can hardly read them, but they do address several of the problems of wood models of this era. For one thing, this airplane comes with wing fillets that are pretty substantial, and they would be really hard to fit carving a piece of balsa wood. And the instructions tell you to make the fillets out of wood putty. I don't think any wood putty came with the kit, at least there isn't any now. Secondly, balsa wood sucks up paint. No matter how much you paint, it keeps sucking it in, and so it leaves a very rough finish. And the plans tell you to be sure and put sanding sealer on the airplane and sand it before you paint it, and that it would be best done with a spray paint. Now, I thought spray paint at that time was kind of a unique thing and not readily available, but maybe that's because at that time I was a kid and my parents made sure it wasn't readily available. I don't know.
Nowhere did they tell you how to set the dihedral angle.
This long bit of very fine print over here is kind of a history of the airplane. Again, it doesn't seem to come to a conclusion, so I suspect it might actually be a kit designed during the war. These sections, of course, are to help you form the fuselage and the wing. When you sand it, you're supposed to make a template out of it, and each one is a cross section. So for instance, cross section W2 for the wing that you test it right here, and the fuselage has sections all the way down it, which are these sections here. So it would be a pretty elaborate carving job to get it done. The other thing I find interesting is that it has a cockpit that could be detailed. In fact, it just cries out to be detailed, but nothing is mentioned about it in the plans. There is a little note down here at the bottom that suggests you could pose the control surfaces, and that also that the flaps are only scribed on the bottom, although it doesn't tell you to scribe them anywhere else. So it is suggesting you could build the kit in a more elaborate way than the plans are indicating.
No paint scheme is suggested.
These are what you would think were the decals, the British insignia, and these are like victory badges for the airplane, a ship, an airplane, etc. But they are not decals. They're actually just printed paper. So I guess you have to cut them out and affix them to the airplane as the decals.
Here's a close-up of the Burkard title block from the plans. As you can see, no date is shown on here, or could I find one anywhere else?